cure for MS, cure for MS. That's what I want to hear. People chanting on eviction night outside the Big Brother house with placards, find a cure for MS. The drugs don't work, they just give us bad side effects. Find a cure. They found a cure for AIDS, which was around in the 80s. Let's find a cure for MS. Great big placards, lots of chanting every single eviction night. If disabled people can't get down there because they're too poorly, like me, can loved ones go down there with great big blown up photos of their loved ones and the reality, with a big photo of the reality of MS, the ugly reality of MS. Let's use this opportunity, guys. Let's get the world talking about and finding a cure for MS. When I first had MS, there weren't any disease-modifying drugs. There is a plethora of them now, and drug companies making lots of money, but all of them have very serious side effects. For instance, the last one I was on, serious side effects on my liver, of all things, and the one before that, serious side effects on my bladder. So all of these drugs seem to have some kind of side effect. They can be good for you physically, but then people have problems with their cognitive ability, or ones are good for your cognitive ability but not very good for your mobility, and it's just there's a whole gambit and wealth of it, but none of them are the cure for MS. There is not a cure for MS, and we need one. Why do I want a cure for MS? I feel that MS has had a detrimental effect on my life. I believe it's affected the quality of my life and my life expectations. I don't feel able to commit to having children or having a career. I suffer with intense fatigue. I sleep most of the time. I have problems with my mobility. I have problems with my right arm. Sometimes I have problems with my hearing, sometimes with my sight. If you Google MS symptoms, you'll see the vast array of symptoms that people can have with MS. It's not just a question of, oh, you've got a bit of a gammy leg and a bit of a funny eye. There is a lot more to it than that. I think one of the main frustrations with having MS is whenever you do get to see a professional, they seem to, if you say, oh, I've got this wrong with me or that wrong with me, there are very few solutions, and you always get the head tilt and, oh, it's your MS and it is progressive. That's not terribly helpful. If something goes wrong with your body, you want to have solutions, which I recognise costs the NHS a few grand, but that's why we all pay our taxes when we are well. Because when things do go wrong, there are cures for things, and also all of these lotteries and charities that are meant to be funding and supporting MS sufferers. Do they really? I, for one, have never had a penny out of the MS Society or the MS Trust. They certainly haven't financed anything to help me. I don't think what people appreciate is how expensive it is if you are disabled. We get our wet room done because I owned some property, so we had to pay for that to be done. Best part of 20 grand. My standing wheelchair that I have, not available on the NHS, and the one available on the NHS I kept sliding out of because it didn't have any knee supports, another 20 grand. My car, the mobility car scheme, is an absolute rip-off, and you end up paying more out of your disability money than the car's actually worth, and even then it's not your car at the end of it, you've only leased it. So we bought a car, another 20 grand. It's very, very expensive to be disabled here in the UK. If we found a cure, that would be amazing. Over the pandemic, there seems to have been a cutback on MS care, certainly within our trust. I have been taken off of my MS drug, but not offered a replacement because apparently there isn't one for my type of MS. So I'm absolutely terrified. I'm not on any disease-modifying drug. My MS nurse, he left over the pandemic. I phoned the MS hotline the other day and spoke to somebody who hardly spoke English and definitely couldn't answer my questions that I had, as they explained that they were new. My physio that I had for 25 years, she also left over the pandemic. She was brilliant and kept me mobile, kept me walking. Unfortunately, I now have an apprentice